Hi everyone and welcome to Just Love. My name is Paula and I'm here with Judy. Hi Judy.
Hi Paula, hi everyone.
Judy, you are constantly reminding us that in the greater reality we are all one. Understanding this and refusing to buy into the fear, refusing to buy into all of the negativity and the separation is where humanity's empowerment lies. But as you say, Earth humans need to understand what is really happening and when it all began before they can be awoken. Humanity has been so controlled and so brainwashed for so long.
Oh my goodness, yes. The control and brainwashing have gone on right from the time that many humans have been tricked into believing was the beginning, recorded in the Old Testament of the Bible. I've even heard it claimed by some fundamentalist Christians that the Earth is only around 5,000 years old and that anything before that is just a conspiracy theory. I've even heard the claim that all the dinosaur bones found are fakes. But thinking about it, what a clever way to keep the truth hidden. The fact is, there's been 5 Genesis events on Earth, with only the most recent one, the 5th, recorded in the Bible. However, problems began with number 3, a reptilian human species that I call the Repterans, which, as with all human species, partly evolved naturally and was then humanised through bioengineering. In the Repterans' case, this was done by an off-planet culture known as the Draconians, using a biped dinosaur species as the base stock.
That's a lot to take in. So we recently spoke about the 5 Genesis events on Earth. Can you remind us of them briefly here?
Yes, Paula. The first Genesis was the Mer people, a human species that was developed out of the sea creatures that lived in the oceans that covered the whole planet in the beginning. The thing to understand here, nothing is ever lost. These beings simply evolved to a different frequency, which is why they've occasionally been observed as the mermaids of maritime folklore. The insectoids then evolved, with a human species developed into the ant people. These were a race of greys. After them came the Repterans, developed out of a biped dinosaur species, then the Sasquatch related to the primates, and lastly modern-day humanity, which was also developed out of a biped primate stock. It was the Repterans who hijacked the planet, almost destroying the ant people, and creating the primate humans as slaves. The Repterans had a very high level of technology at their disposal even back then. For those who have trouble getting their heads around this, just remember, our own Homo sapien culture has been around for about 60,000 years. Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for around 165 million years. So a human species developed out of them had plenty of time to evolve to a level of very high technology with the help of their progenitors, the off-planet Draconians. The bottom line is Earth was home to this multi-million-year-old, space-faring, very technologically advanced reptoid human species, aided by another even more ancient and advanced off-planet species who had the necessary know-how to bioengineer a physically strong slave race out of a biped primate species. Thus, modern-day humans were created into slavery. In other words, the creation of our present-day human species was not carried out by any so-called God, but rather by an older, technically evolved Earth human reptoid culture with some off-planet aid.
Judy, in your book, E.T. Presence on Earth, Lessons in History, you speak about how it all began. In chapter 15, the 3 levels of Adam and Eve parable is perhaps a good place to start. Can you talk to us about that and the significance of the 3 levels?
Yes, Paula, I've actually had more information come through since writing that on the major role played by the Repterans in creating an earlier semi-human species, sometimes referred to as the mixtures. Back then I was also a bit hesitant to question the validity of the Bible.
Okay, so what has changed?
Okay, other people are now starting to talk about and question the concept of the so-called God of the Old Testament. This includes Paul Wallace, an Anglican priest and highly qualified biblical researcher, who has come forward with a number of books supporting the concept of the Old Testament God really being a negative reptoid. Now is obviously the time for a deeper level of truth and awakening, and time to stop worrying so much about stepping on traditional toes. What we also need to bear in mind is that in the greater reality there are no accidents. Everything that takes place has deeper layers and purposes behind it.
Yes, so there are no accidents, and everything that takes place has deeper layers and purposes behind it.
Which sure does. Yes, and the Genesis event is no different. Modern-day humanity actually underwent two Genesis events. The first one, carried out by the Reptarians, only included a very small amount of genetic manipulation. It humanised them just enough to carry out orders, but they were still more attuned to the animal kingdom than human. This is why they've been referred to as mixtures. When higher off-planet beings, mainly the Pleiadians, realised what was going on, they came here to intervene. Thus a second Genesis took place to humanise the mixtures further. This intervention involved more off-planet human DNA being inserted into their genetic makeup. A number of the mixtures were taken to a place of safety, referred to in the Bible as the Garden of Eden. The Adam and Eve story in the Bible does contain 3 layers of meaning, but has been so badly misinterpreted and changed, much of it is missing. An example is the mixtures carried the double X chromosomes, which would have made these first beings female. So this is where the disinformation begins in the Bible, which claims that Adam, the male, was the first human created on Earth.
So Adam wasn't the first?
No, he wasn't. In actual fact, the first was female, so Eve, from which genetic material was taken and mutated. Hence, males of the human species carry XY chromosomes as opposed to double X. It was really the male being that was created out of the female.
That's interesting, but it makes sense when you look at it from that angle.
Another level describes Adam as being created out of clay. When the off-planet beings intervened, it was necessary for them to take on physical human form in order to carry out the work. In this case, Adam is more symbolic of these off-planet beings taking on a physical Earth human form and using their own genetic material, Adam's rib, to genetically alter the mixtures to bring them more into line with the human kingdom.
Oh, and the third level?
The third and deepest level of the Adam and Eve story is symbolic of the opposite polarities of yin and yang, negative and positive, expressing as female and male. The further down the human ladder we are, the more polarisation is present. Earth plane humanity is mostly focused on the very first rung of the ladder. Hence the extreme polarity on Earth, including the opposite sexes of male and female. As our focus shifts to higher rungs of the ladder, we tune more and more back into oneness. When we talk about positive and negative in this sense, it refers to the poles of a magnet and the anode and cathode of electricity. It does not refer to good and bad. However, mass disinformation has been spread through the Bible, and I also believe through other scriptures, which claim Eve, and in fact all human females, to be negative, as meaning sinful, and referring back to the so-called original sin.
So Judy, what is your take on all of this?
It's a total misinterpretation of the original and correct meaning, which is purely to do with energy. Eve is simply an analogy of the negative cathode polarity as opposed to the positive anode polarity. Neither dominates, but rather are totally complementary and necessary for the production of energy. Of course, the dominantly patriarchal system, very deliberately passed down through all the world's major religions, has exploited the negative meaning evil concept to provide an excuse to repress, belittle and control the female half of the planet's population.
So now that we're shifting into a new and higher energy frequency, how do you see this misinformation and disinformation coming into balance?
Okay, well this is happening now with more and more researchers such as Paul Wallace speaking out and writing so openly about it. This is just another example of more light being shed on a previously covert and controlling agenda. I can also see why fundamentalist religion has become so popular over the last few years. Most people have a need for a belief system of some sort, but some are just not ready yet to move beyond 3D. Fundamentalist religion is still firmly anchored at this lower level, so acts like a life jacket for those who crave spirituality, but are too scared to open their minds to anything beyond the physical. Hence they create their God and the angels in that 3D physical human form. It's purely fear that blocks their deeper understanding. I do understand the difficulties of operating through the limits of a 10% conscious human brain and getting our heads around the whole idea of multidimensional energy frequencies that are right here, right now, and operating way beyond the physical world that we can reach out to and touch. But that is the reality, finally being proven through quantum physics. With a lot of help from my upstairs family, I've been directed into putting this information into book form in as simple a way as possible, trying to balance out science and religion, which really do need to work together in oneness to get a true picture across. So, with it in mind, my books are all available from Amazon, with links to our website listed below. They are Human by Day, Zeta by Night, followed by the Zeta Message, then Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth, Lessons in History, and my two most recent books, both Kindle editions and both also available in German, An Interview with an Alien, Comments by an Undercover ET, and Cosmic Spirituality, Blending Religion and Science in Oneness from an Off-Planet Perspective.
Ooh, thanks, Jude, and thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, sending you much love and bye for now.